Hi, let's start now. I'm Jagrit, your host for this webinar on 10x faster invoicing. Good to see so many of you here today. The strong attendance shows that efficient invoicing is a priority for many communities. RW members spend several hours every month just processing invoices, and that's not counting the time lost fixing avoidable errors. This session isn't just about speeding those things up. It's about bringing in automation to reduce mistakes, ensure consistency, and help you operate with confidence. Because time spent correcting errors is time better spent elsewhere. Over the next hour, our product team will share practical approaches to upgrade your invoicing process, make it faster and more efficient, make it automated to be precise. Whether you are dealing with invoice backlogs or looking to improve your current systems, we are sure that today's session will offer you crucial insights to smooth your operations. Before we begin, let me outline how our session will work out today. We have set time for Q&A at the end, where our team will address your specific questions, but we request you to keep submitting them on the form we have posted in the comment section on the right side of your screen. You can also find the form in your calendar invite as well as the WhatsApp message you received from us today. To make the most of our time together, I would request it would help if you focus your questions only on the topic of the day, that is invoicing processes. Moving forward, let me introduce you the presenters who will guide us through today's session. First, we have Nitesh Tripathi, our Senior Product Manager for ERP Solutions. He has worked over years to improve the invoicing system for RWAs. And Mahir, our Client Experience Lead for ERP, known for his practical approach to helping community managers streamline financial processes. They will be sharing actionable strategies that you can implement in your communities today. Now, let's review what we'll cover in today's session. First, you will get a clear overview of how the invoicing template process works and how to save time and reduce errors in that, followed by a practical demonstration of automating invoice generation. And lastly, hands-on guide to tailoring templates with your society's branding terms and specific requirements that you might have. After covering these topics, we'll open the floor for your questions. So feel free to add them throughout the presentation. I repeat, feel free to add them throughout the presentation. Don't wait for the Q&A session. Now let's begin a session on improving your invoicing efficiency. Mahir, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Mahir. Welcome to another session where we explore some of the finer details of Mygate's features. Today, we are going to deep dive into a topic that many of you have asked about, that is setting up invoice templates and exploring the advanced options available within that setup. Before we get started, I want to quickly touch on some of the common questions we get from communities when it comes to invoicing. These are just few examples of what we often hear. Can my society's invoice be generated automatically every month? Yeah. And is it possible to send separate reminders to owners and tenants based on different type of bills that they receive? And another one, can the description in the invoice template automatically update each month and generate the invoices through the automated ways? Another one is, how do I ensure that the entire invoice fits neatly on a single page? And do I need to create a new invoice template every month? All great questions, and throughout today's session, we will be addressing these and many more. Also, feel free to keep sending in your questions at any time using the form link provided in the chat box. We will cover all these questions. Now, why does Mygate have a template-based flow? Template-based invoicing gives you incredible flexibility. It allows for almost unlimited combinations based on your society's needs. Let me walk you through a few examples to show what's possible. Let's imagine Tower A and Tower B in your society. Maybe they use different bank accounts, maybe need different description in the invoices, or even have a different set of penalty rules. With template, we can easily set that up. Or consider this, you might want to send an owner's invoice that doesn't include tenant-specific charges. Instead, you could send a separate invoice to tenant with only their applicable dues. Another scenario, an external vendor who rents a space in your society might need their invoice on a particular date, along with specific terms and conditions written on it. Again, a customized templates make this completely doable. What's great about Mygate is that, unlike many other accounting platforms for societies, you are not locked into fixed rules or rigid billing formats. With templates, you can create simple or even highly detailed invoice setup that work exactly the way you need them to. And don't worry, we will walk you through how to make use of these advanced features in the upcoming slides. As we go forward, please keep sending in more questions. We will make sure to address all these questions towards the end. With this, I will hand over to my colleague, Mr. Nitesh, who will take you through the next chapter of optimizing your invoice templates.
Template. Now, whenever I interact with our customers, whoever are onboarding fresh with our product, or it could be an old customer who has been using our solution for 2-3 years now, but they have a new accountant or they may have a new treasurer. They have certain common questions like, will it be easy for me to set up a template on Mygate dashboard or not? It could also be a question about tutorials and FAQs. Mygate provides help with certain tutorials or not on the dashboard itself, as well as is there any specialized flow in which the new users can be helped out in a step-by-step manner, in a journey kind of a manner to set up their own first template. Now to discuss this further, I will go to the Mygate dashboard. All right. As you see on the screen, this is your familiar Mygate dashboard with the template listing page. All the templates configured for the society are present on this particular template listing page. As you can see, there's a maintenance invoice configured here. There's a electricity invoice also configured here in the system. Now, if I talk about new invoice template creation, it happens from create template button. The create template flow opens a side-by-side kind of a preview-based model where on the left-hand side, you can keep filling the form. And on the right-hand side, it will keep appearing as an output. So let's say, for example, I want to set up a template. I'll not set up a complete template, but I'll show you a small general process for Corpus. Corpus Fund for financial year 2025-26. Cycle, let's say it's yearly. And I'll move to next. As you can see, the invoice title, the period, as well as the item section has been opened here. I can add an item called Corpus. And maybe I can select ledger as well to move forward. Once my items have been settled, I can move forward to the footer note section. So whatever you do on the left-hand side of the screen appears on the right-hand side of the screen. So this helps a new user with the journey of template creation. You have a page-by-page model. You first do the basic configurations, thereafter do your items configuration, and at last your additional settings and footer notes. This flow helps a new user learn the template creation process very quickly and very easily. However, if you are a user who wants to look at video tutorials and FAQs as well, the same has been presented on the top of the screen, on the top right section. You can go through the video, and there are a lot of good questions entered in the FAQs. You can go through them as well. Now, coming back to the outside screen, for those people who have been asking about a specialized kind of a feature which can help with template creation, you have sample templates. Whether you are an old user, already created n number of templates, or you are a new user, you will always have a sample template section at the very top. You can click on it and you will find 3 sample templates already provided. One is a fixed amount based template, second is an area based template, and third is a meter based template. Meter-based template can be used for utility billing, for example, water, for example, electricity, the things that are dependent on consumption. Area and fixed amount-based templates can be used for maintenance charges. For large societies which are completely dependent on area-based billing, they can go for this one. And for small societies which are, let's say, fixed amount-based maintenance charge setup, let's say, for example, 3 BHK houses have a 5,000 rupees maintenance and 2 BHK houses have a 4,000 rupees maintenance. They can go for a fixed amount based sample template setup. To use a sample template, you can just click on this button called use this template, and it will open your familiar template form with all the details already filled. So you have your items pre-filled, your descriptions pre-filled, etc. And those can be changed accordingly as per your requirement. In a way, providing you a head start in creating a new template. Another very important tool that is provided on the same page is a duplicate function. So let's say, for example, if I go to the bottom of the screen, we already have a LCT invoice template present here. If I want to create a new template for my own, let's say some amount of experimentation, I can click on duplicate template, which will open a small pop-up. I can change the name of this template, let's say, for example, April, and create. And very quickly, I'll have a new template ready with me with the exact same configurations as the old template. However, there was a question posed by Mahir earlier, in a sense, that do we need to create new templates every month? No. The old template itself is very much useful in creating your invoices in n number of month situations. You can keep updating the amount on the old template and keep generating your invoices properly rather than creating new templates every time. New templates add to a baggage, in a sense, to the society invoicing system. And let's say, for example, a new accountant or treasurer comes in, they will become more confused by the n number of templates in the system instead of having only a couple of them. All right, coming back to the presentation. That was about setting up your first template. Now, the main part of today's session, how to set up your automated invoicing. Now, societies who come to me asking a particular kind of a problem statement, stating a particular type of problem statement, that we have a very fixed amount of billing, or we may have an area-based billing, which is not going to change for next 1 year or 2 years. Until, let's say, you have a resolution by the GBM and there is a change in maintenance values. Can I automate that kind of a billing system or not? Second problem they often come to me with is every time I have to change the invoice period manually whenever I go and do a billing process. Can that be automated as well? Because is system smart enough to realize that this is not April month's bill, but a May month bill, and should automatically place May 25 as the billing period? And thirdly, of course, few people are not very sure about if the automated system will make any errors or not. So they ask if there is a checks and balance system in place, which can help me ensure that there are no mistakes with the billing. So again, to answer these three questions, I'll go back to the Mygate dashboard. All right. Coming back to the template listing page. As I spoke earlier, if you have a fixed amount-based billing or area-based billing, for example, this template 1 or template 2, you can always set up your automated system of invoicing. That happens from this auto bill generation setting. You go to auto bill generation, you can select periodic generation, where you can put the next billing date. So let's say, for example, your next billing is going to happen on 5th of May, then I can choose the date of 5th of May. Number of days before due date. So let's say you are going to provide 10 days of due period, and the invoice will automatically become overdue on after 15th of May. So that penalties can apply. Again, if you want to include penalty to retain the previous batch selection, let's say, that logic, and the penalty is from due date onwards. Answering the second question, we can also configure an automated billing period selection. So let's say the monthly billing cycle is monthly. There are n number of billing cycles provided here. Let's say the billing cycle is monthly here. And billing period start date is from 1st of May to 31st of May, let's say. And you want a date format on the billing or month format. In date format, what you will get is basically first 25/05/01 to 25/05/31. In month format, you will get the month's name displayed on the invoice. You will get May displayed on the invoice. Number of days before the penalty starts, 1 day. So after the due date, the penalty will start applying from next day onwards. I'll update the setting. Once the setting has been updated, you will find that there is a new label appearing on the template itself, which denotes that the template has been set up for auto invoicing now. This is how you set up your auto invoicing with auto billing configuration. After the system raises the bill for on 5th of May, it will automatically update the billing period from May to June, so that you do not have to worry about coming back to the system and manually editing the billing period again in the month of June. The system takes care of the process in that sense. All right, I believe there are a few questions here from our audience. Maybe, as pointed out earlier, you can go to the comment section and use the link to post your questions. We'll be taking up all the questions at the end of the session, and I'll provide all the answers here. All right. The last question was about whether a user can be sure about errors happening during auto generation. So what we do is, let's say the billing is going to happen automatically on the night, early morning of 5th of May. So on 4th of May at in the morning, 9:30 a.m., we send an email to our admins of the society that this billing is going to happen on 5th of May, that is tomorrow. And these are the configurations, the charge date, the due date, the penalty setting, the bank configuration, etc. Everything is sent in one email as a summary to the admins. There's also a note that if you find any incorrectness, any error in the configuration, you have an opportunity of the whole day of 4th of May until 11 p.m. to make the updates in the template. That will help a very error-free kind of automatic invoice generation on 5th of May. Most of the times, in 99% of the cases, I don't find anyone changing the configurations. However, if you do feel some amount of, let's say, terms and conditions have to be edited, or maybe some small mistake is there in the title of the invoice, etc., you can correct that. And you can go forward with that auto generation the next day automatically. So before people wake up in the society, they will get the bills. All right, coming back to the presentation. Next important section for any society which has a turnover of more than 20 lakhs per year is tax invoicing. So mastering tax invoicing and GST exemption is always advised by the CAs, and our system is also qualified to do tax invoicing and handles GST exemptions. Now, often the questions are like, my CA has advised to print tax invoice label on the top of the invoice PDF. Can that be done? There's also a doubt about whether GST exemption will be handled properly on Mygate system or not. Is it configurable? Is it not configurable, etc. Then there are questions about penalty as well, which I will come to later. Let me show you how exemption and tax invoicing works first. Coming back to the dashboard, let me take the example with the first template here, the maintenance invoice. If I edit the maintenance invoice template and go to the second section in items and tax settings, the first section that you will observe is the GST settings section, which is dedicated for tax invoicing. So if I go to the top of this template and click on print taxable tax invoice bill of supply, automatically a label for tax invoice will be added at the top of the PDF. Secondly, I have also heard from multiple different CAs from NCR that you need to publish the summations of taxable, non-taxable, and GST amounts along with subtotal. That is also available. You can publish that particular amounts as subtotal, which will be resulting into a grand total at the bottom. So these two are very basic configurations which can help you ensure that the PDF is looking like a tax invoice properly. Lastly, the GST exemption on the template. I can apply it here. Let me go for a invoice level GST exemption. The value is 7,500. Now, what will happen is if CAM charges, which is the taxable item here, I can show it from you, from here. CAM charges are the taxable item. If CAM charges goes beyond 7,500 rupees, a GST will automatically be calculated on the CAM charges. Currently, the amounts are indicative and 1,000 rupees amount is placed here in the template. So, of course, we can't show you the exemption process here. We'll have to do the actual invoice generation for the exemption process. We also have an item level exemption. So for societies who have multiple different types of items on the same invoice, So let's say, for example, they have the maintenance items, which is common area based income, as well as their utility items on the same invoice. They can go for a item based exemption applicability. In that case, the exemption has to be placed on the item itself. So 7,500 can be placed alongside the CAM charges item, and the exemption will only apply on the value of CAM charges, not on the occupancy charges, even if occupancy charges is taxable. In this way, you can handle both item level and invoice level exemption applicability. All right. Now, going back to the slides once more, there were two questions about penalty and legality of differential exemptions. Now, to understand the third question, I will take an example here. So let's say you did a billing for January, February, March in the month of Jan. And house A001, which is my house, I did not pay for 45 days beyond the due date. Now, when you do the billing for April, May, June, the current quarter, a penalty item is automatically added on the new invoice for those 45 days of late payment. This type of penalty application is followed by a lot of customers across the country, especially Maharashtra communities. Now, their question is that whether the penalty will be included in the exemption or not, because penalty is being applied on the CAM charges, and that particular penalty is towards common area. Hence, it should be a part of exemption. By default, we do not provide this particular functionality directly to the customers, because most of the communities often go for only CAM item to be exempted under the rules of CGST. But there are also quite a few communities from Pune, from Kolkata, from Mumbai, who have activated this particular setting, which can be done from backend. You can contact your account manager from Mygate, and we can activate the setting for you, where penalties appearing on the next invoice will automatically become a part of exemption calculation logic. All right, the last part, is it legal to charge GST on differential value? Again, I'll take an example here. So let's say my house has a bill of 9,000 rupees. And of course, the GST exemption happens after 7,500. So the differential amount comes out as 9,000 minus 7,500, which is 1,500 rupees. I have also heard from a couple of CAs who advise their customers to go for a differential amount based GST calculation. That is, GST will be calculated on 1,500 rupees only. So is it legal? No, it's not legal. In the earlier circulars from the GST Council, we had already got a notification that the amount has to be calculated on the total value. And as recently as this month again, the council has clarified that the GST calculation should happen on 9,000 rupees instead of 1,500 rupees. It was again a part of news. You can go through the news section from various different reputed sources, and you can check the legality of this process. For societies who are going forward or doing this kind of a exemption-based logic, I would advise to move forward, move towards the standardized model, which is GST calculation of 9,000 rupees. All right, next. Okay. What are bill plans? How do I tailor my invoice sequences for different types of bills? Now, it is the start of new financial year, 25-26. And I often see communities going into reconfigurations or better configurations at the start of new financial year. Their thought is towards a better segregation of their invoices. So if there's a maintenance invoice happening, there's electricity invoice happening, there is a water invoice happening, they would want to segregate these invoices under different billing heads or bill plans. Or they would also want to have custom sequences for these different types of bills. So a particular sequence of 24-25 was running until 31st of March. But now you want to go ahead with, let's say, a new sequence of 25-26 financial year. So is this flow possible with Mygate? How can I ensure that these kind of processes are taken care of automatically? We can look into these processes now. So if I go to the Mygate dashboard, on your familiar template listing page itself, you have a shortcut for invoice sequences. If I click on it, and go to manage sequences, you'll find that there are 3 default sequences already provided to all communities in the top section, and you can create your own custom sequences for your invoices in the bottom section. Now, people who do not want to go for custom sequences, they do not have to interact with the bottom section. They can only look at the invoice, common invoice sequence, and the next number will be utilized by default. The next 2 default sequences for PR/ and OP/ are reserved for proforma invoices and opening balance invoices, which are mostly for office use only or maybe a specialized use case. So most of the customers will not interact with that. However, if you really want to set up your own custom sequence, let's say, for example, I want to set up a electricity sequence, ELE/25, 26/ and starts from 1. Create. Now, after CAM 2526, and electricity 2526 has also been added, and we'll start with number 1 going forward. And this particular sequence can be called in the invoice template for your next billing, actually. Let me go back to the invoice page. So the next invoice number for this particular bill will be configured directly in the invoice here in the edit section. Basic configurations. Invoice sequence is the default invoice sequence. I can choose to move to a custom invoice sequence. The new one that was set up was for electricity, hence I'll not use it here. It is the maintenance invoice. So I'll use the CAM one. Once I update this value, the next invoice number for this particular maintenance invoice becomes CAM 2526 number 3. The other templates, however, even if it is a maintenance bill, will still exist on the default sequence. You can change this sequence also to the CAM sequence. However, I would always advise you to keep one maintenance sequence and one electricity sequence. That will help you control your behavior better. If I go to bill plans, now bill plan is as I mentioned earlier, when you want to segregate your invoices under different billing heads. So here, 5 bill plans have already been created. The main ones are maintenance and electricity. The rest ones are very uncommonly used generally in any society. So whenever I want to look at a bill plan, there are multiple different capabilities that come into picture. What happens here is you can select a particular advance that can be associated to that particular bill plan, which means along with multiple bill plans, you can run multiple advances in the community also. So if it is a tenant who is living in house A001 and he wants to pay an advance towards his electricity or water, that is the utility billing, they can pay into that particular advance. And that particular advance payment will be utilized for settlement for the respective consecutive billing under electricity bill plan. Similarly, if the onus of paying maintenance generally falls on the owner, then you can set up your maintenance bill plan here with the maintenance advance. So if an owner has paid 1 year of advance at the start of the financial year in the maintenance advance, then the consecutive billing, the billing of maintenance after April will automatically settle from that particular advance. The another feature that bill plan ensures is that you do not miss out on your custom sequence in any manner. So it will never happen that you select your maintenance bill plan and a wrong custom sequence is chosen. So in the bill plan setup itself, you can choose the advance and you can choose the custom sequence. So let's say, for example, I had just created an electricity sequence. I can go to edit the electricity bill plan. Let me choose electricity. Now saved. Once I go back to the invoice template section, let's say, for example, this invoice template, configurations, I go to penalty and arrears, publish arrears on invoice via bill plan. Select bill plan, electricity. Now you'll observe that there will be a change in this invoice sequence and advanced ledger. Automatically, ELE 2526 has been selected in invoice sequence, and automatically electricity advance has been selected. So whenever you go with the bill plan flow, you always ensure that the sequence and the advance are mapped correctly in your invoices. Whatever payments come thereafter are always in the right order. I can save this particular configuration. And then whatever bills are generated from this particular invoice template will always be correct billing under the electricity bill plan. Now, electricity bill plan offers a lot of output benefits. Let's say, for example, not GST output, but reporting output. So let's say, for example, you want to track the area specifically for your tenants. That is your water and electricity billing. So you can go to the dues report, you can select a particular bill plan and check what are the areas for that particular bill plan. If you are focusing on your owners, then probably you can choose your maintenance bill plan and particularly look into the areas for that particular maintenance bill plan. Another very important benefit is sending reminders. If I go to Views Tracker and I go to Send Reminder, so for a good collection within the community, fund collection, it's important to send your invoices on the right channels as well as send reminders also in a proactive manner. So let's say if I talk about dues reminder, I can click on send. There you have an option to choose your maintenance or electricity bill plan. So I'll choose the maintenance bill plan. I'll choose, let's say, for example, I don't want to disturb everyone. People who have at least 1,000 rupees due will be sent a reminder via email, SMS, or app notification. I can select all the houses. Now, houses which have a maintenance due over 1,000 rupees will be sent these notifications. Send. Once the notifications are sent, the users will receive those notifications. Thereafter, they can start paying again. You can also set up your dues reminder to be automated. The schedule can be put in a very similar manner. Let's say 1,000 rupees threshold electricity bill plan. And monthly on 10th of every month, you want to send the reminder, the system will automatically take care of it. You can also do it weekly or after n number of days. So that's how you ensure that particular type of resident is intimated about your non-payment. Coming back to the slides. Now that the last question is also answered, I'll move forward. All right. Another particular perspective. Let's say, for example, invoice has to be sent only for selected houses or non-members. Now, this topic comes often when, let's say, the builder does not hand over the property in a full manner. Let's say, for example, A, B, C, D towers have been handed over to the association, but tower E and F have still not been handed over. So how to skip those particular buildings while doing your invoicing? There's also a situation where a non-member is doing a promotion, and this is a one-off promotion activity, and you want to send a bill to that particular non-member. Now, it can become a tedious process if you have to create a template for it, that one-time billing. Similarly, for members or residents as well, there could be one-off invoices like RFID tag or ID card or parking penalty, etc. So if I talk about large communities, I often see their accountants doing 20 to 30 such invoices per day. And using template for these kind of one-off invoicing again becomes a hassle because you have to particularly feed amount in that particular house and raise the invoice. To understand how to send invoices for a particular house or set of towers only, let me get back to the dashboard once more. I'll go to the account section, invoicing, raise invoices. Now, if I talk about the first template, you can see that the towers, it's mentioned all towers. That means this particular item in this template is applicable for all towers. Similarly, the item 2 also is applicable for all towers. If I talk about which type of resident or which type of occupancy this particular item is applicable for, that is all. Owner also, tenant also, and vacant also. So even vacant houses will get this particular item when an invoice is raised. If I want to control this activity, I can click on Edit Template, go to Items and Tax Settings, go to the items. Let's say, for example, I want to look at non-occupancy charges, and I want to make them applicable only for vacant houses. So let's say vacant units. Similarly, I know for a fact that A, B, C, D towers are all occupied. So let me go for E and F, let's say H tower, it's applicable for H tower, and let's say building 2. These two buildings or these two towers have non-occupancy within them, and hence these towers are applicable for this kind of invoicing, non-occupancy charges, update template. Now you'll find here that CAM charges, once they are raised, they are applicable for all type of occupancy and all type of buildings. However, non-occupancy charges are only applicable for vacant houses and within buildings H and building 2. This helps you control how many buildings will appear when amount is being added or uploaded into the system. So I've often seen people making mistakes. They put all towers and thereafter they make mistake of adding extra houses in the upload file. So if a particular item is only applicable for certain number of towers or certain type of occupancy, you can always control that within the invoice template. Similarly, if I talk about one-off or ad hoc type of billing, if I go to, you'll have to go through dues tracker for it. So I'm moving away from template setup to the house dues page. Let me select one of the houses. Let's say this A007, which is registered in the name of Vivish Technologies Private Limited. Now, a case could be where, let's say, for example, the resident had a guest and the guest parked their vehicle in a wrong spot. Now, that will invite a parking penalty. So let's say, for example, the guard raised an incident report during patrolling that this car was parked wrongly and a photo was taken at that time of incident reporting. What can an accountant do is he can click on add invoice. Now this is a single item invoice where, let's say, I can raise an invoice for parking penalty, amount is 500 rupees, charge account is parking fund, let's say on today's date and a due date of 30th of May. You can choose a particular invoice sequence also or a bill plan. Let me choose a bill plan called parking since it is already created. GST is applicable on that, this kind of a one-off invoice at 18%. You can add your own footer notes, let's say 1, 2, 3, the terms and conditions, which have to be associated with parking. And you can also choose to upload a image as a footer image. Now, this footer image is very useful tool where you can place the parking penalty proof. So the photograph taken by guard can be uploaded and added to the PDF in the footer section. Similarly, if your non-member did a promotion, one-time promotion, and a photograph was taken of that activity, the photograph can be uploaded as a proof of submission in the footer notes. It will appear there and it will be shared as a document to the party. I'll add the invoice. That invoice will start appearing in this house dues page at the bottom. And let's say once the collection is made, you can select it and you can settle the dues from here. If it is a resident, the same invoice will appear on the app also, and they can pay from the app. So for your one-time invoice or ad hoc invoices, it does not need you to really go into the template process and do the billing from there. All right. Again, I would remind everyone that you can ask your questions from the within the link provided in the comment section. The comment has been pinned there with a link. You can tap on the link, you can click on the link, add your question, and we will answer them at the end of the session. All right, the final page in a way, the final topic that we are going to cover. Now, look at these two sample invoices. These two sample invoices are very similar in their, let's say, amount configuration, the item configuration, very similar number of terms and conditions as well. Yet they are very different as well. So if you look at the left example, you won't find the society logo. You won't find the GST number and the PAN number of the society. Also, at the same time, there are a few details missing from the house section. Like, for example, the owner address, the billing address, or maybe the PAN number and the handover date that is provided in the right-hand side. Similarly, if I talk about total taxable, total non-taxable, GST, etc., it's present in the second sample, but not in the first sample. There's also a footer image added neatly at the bottom, which is a QR image. If you really want to add a QR of the society, you can also look at in this particular sample. Now, both the invoices are correct invoices. Both the invoices will fetch the same amount of collection from the resident. However, the invoice on the right is neatly ensuring that all the details have been captured and are presented to the user, to the resident, so that they can consume it better. Now, how to set up, how to ensure that invoice is set up in a better manner? Let me go back to the dashboard. All right. Coming to the invoicing, raise invoices. When I click on edit of a template, you will find that the template itself will let you know whether the society's logo, GST number, and PAN number have been configured or not. This can be configured from the settings page. You go to the maintenance and account setting. At the top of maintenance and account setting, you will find options like site name, logo, etc. presented to you. You can explore your own dashboard where you can ensure that the items are added correctly. Similarly, if I go to edit template, towards the item and taxation, you'll find that publish tax invoice, publish taxable, non-taxable, etc. are added properly or not. This will add a few more inputs to the resident that all the invoice items have been carefully curated. If I go to the invoice footer notes, here the footer image is already added, which is the QR image. You can add your own QR or you can add your society logo. Similarly, this particular footer note can also be ensured to be accommodated in a very compact section by using normal div kind of a style. You can play around with your own styles and ensure that a right kind of a PDF is generated for you. For house billing details, you can go to the invoice details section and ensure that, let's say, GST registered unit, let's say, all the items for Vivis Technologies have been added or not. The GST number, the PAN number, the address, and maybe if you're doing e-invoicing, then rest of the details like location, pin code, and place is applied. If all these details for society, for the member or non-member, as well as the configuration within the template are added properly, you can ensure that there is a very beautiful invoice format that has been realized. All right. So that was the 5-6 topics I wanted to cover of template configuration so that you can manage your templates in much more optimal manner. Now we'll move forward to the Q&A section. The questions that we have received earlier are being posted in the comment section. Again, I'll remind everyone, you have a link at the top of the comment section through which you can post your own questions. Those questions will be read by our team and will be posted again back in the comment section so that everybody can look through it. Okay, the first question, how to show GST input tax credit on invoices. Currently, we are issuing vouchers which are shown as arrears or advances. All right, so there are a couple processes for these. So the process that you're using is not a wrong process where whatever rebate that you get will be added as vouchers before the billing. That particular voucher will ensures that the amount is added into advance and the same is represented during billing as well. However, you can also use the system of discount during billing. Let's say the maintenance amount is 5,000 rupees and a rebate of 1,000 rupees has to be placed against that maintenance invoice. Then there's always an option to provide a discount during billing while setting up the template. So whenever you add the amount against the item of maintenance, 5,000 amount will be added in the debit section. And in the credit section, 1,000 rupees will be added. This will ensure that you are providing the right rebates there. However, I'll remind again that a GST calculation will happen on 4,000 rupees, which is 5,000 minus 1,000. To ensure that the GST calculation is according to 5,000 rupees, you can ensure that the same is done as a credit note later. All right, the next is, can we set up time-based templates? Example, after 1 month, penalty is 12%. After 3 months onwards, it is 18%. Mahir, would you want to take it up?
Yeah. Hi. So what I understood from the question is, after certain period of time, the penalty percentage has to be changed. Yeah. From 12% to 18%. So ideally here, The template can be same. I think we have to create late payment fine settings. In the late payment fine settings itself, we can create multiple
Maybe you can show that
slabs.
part, yeah.
Yeah. So when we, yeah, I'm presenting the dashboard here. So in a template, so if I take this maintenance invoice as a template, so the late payment penalty that I'm selecting under the basic configuration. So here we can have different rules. So these rules are created beforehand, before creating the template. So in that rule itself, we can define what are the escalations in price or rate happens within what time period. Let me quickly show you one example. Coming to accounts. So here we will have an option called penalty settings. So this is the place where we create a rule for penalty calculation. So here, a quick settings, if I add late payment penalty. So the slab can be percentage. So in the example, it is mentioned for first month penalty of 12%. So I can give a penalty as a percentage 12, and which is monthly. And I can give a frequency of how long this will continue. So if it is monthly, assuming for 1 month or maybe for 3 months, I'll give slab frequency as 3 slab frequency. So here 12% penalty will apply 3 times. Maybe after 3 months, it escalates to 18%. So that can be added as a second slab here. And we can define a time also. In case if it is happening quarterly, so we can give the penalty calculation on quarterly. And whatever is the final stage which continues, so if 18% has to continue, so we can, that can be the final slab with slab frequency 0. So upon saving this,
So you mean to say that 12% will apply for 3 months as 3 cycles, and
Yep.
18% thereafter will keep applying indefinitely because the slab frequency is 0.
yeah, right.
So
And this settings can be applied in the invoice template before we generate the invoice. Yep.
once the new setting is configured, it has to be applied in all the different templates wherever you want to configure that.
Right.
Do not miss out on older invoices as well. So if you have a certain number of invoices already done and you want to replace the penalty setting, you can also go back to invoice history, and from there you can update the penalty setting on those particular old invoices. All right, coming back. How do we raise pro forma invoices, non-tax invoices for payment collection? Use case being, we want to start collection for the initial month in a financial year and raise the actual GST in March so that we can utilize input tax credit connected. Exactly. So pro forma invoice, the beauty of pro forma invoice is that you do not attract GST liabilities right away. Once the payment is made, then only the tax invoice is generated, and thereafter your GST liability will come into play. So we do have a setup for pro forma invoicing. If we go to the template setup, so your familiar template listing page, I'll go to create template. And you have within basic configuration at the top itself, you have normal invoices, consumption statement, and pro forma invoices also appearing here. Right now, pro forma invoicing is probably not activated for the society, but you can choose to convert your type of invoice to pro forma invoice from here itself. Once it is configured to pro forma, whatever you raise will not impact your ledgers or your income. The resident will not feel much of a difference. On their Mygate app, they will receive the invoice in a very similar manner as previously, as invoice cards. They can select an invoice card, let's say maintenance invoice card, and pay the 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees maintenance that you are charging. Once the payment is made, then automatically a tax invoice is generated in its place, in the pro forma invoices place, which will be the actual tax liability for the society, rather than attracting tax for each and every individual, even if they're not paying. So I remember a lot of builders go for this kind of a pro forma invoicing, and societies as well who are facing trouble with collections in their initial days. So they go for pro forma invoicing for a certain period of time. And once they have enough amount of movement or momentum, they go forward back, they refer back to tax invoices when they have enough funds ready. So that is possible in the Mygate section. You can also connect with our ERP or your account manager to get to know more about pro forma invoices.
You mean to say that we have to enable this feature for
Yes.
certain societies, right? If they require, so that's why it's not visible over there.
Right, it's need to be enabled. The first question about issuing discounts, I'll refer to that once more. So if I click on generate invoices, the amount setup is present here itself. Let's say, for example, if I go here inside amount setup, I had mentioned that you have an option to add debit amount as well as discount. I'll open the discount section. Let's say the rate has been filled as 9 for the debit amount, and the total amount debit amount is 16,000 rupees. You can issue a credit or discount amount of 1,000 rupees against that debit amount, so that the total payable becomes lower. And the GST liability, GST application will also happen on 15,982 instead of 16,982. So that process can be used if you already know how much rebate and how much input tax credit you are actually rebating to the customers. All right, going back. Next question is, can we put variables in footer notes such as current date or current financial year? No, it is not possible to put variables in the footer note. Footer note is meant to only publish certain static content. So let's say your terms and conditions which are static and they are defined in your bylaws, they can be put in the footer notes. Your payment terms can be put in the footer notes. Your penalty setting can be put, penalty setting description can be put there. If you have certain let's say SOPs regarding check payment, that behind the check you need to mention the name of the payer, you need to mention the additional details like the email ID or phone number of the payer, you can mention those things in the footer note. However, we do have another field where you can put variables on the invoice PDF. Let me go to the dashboard. I'll go to accounts, again, invoicing, raise invoices. So the item I was talking about, the feature I was talking about is this custom entries. Within custom entries, it is possible to put two customizable entries, variable entries as per the house on the invoice PDF. So what will happen when you download the sample file here is a list of all the flats that you'll get. You can put two custom entries for each of the flats. Let's say, for example, handover date of the flat, or maybe the PAN number of the flat. From your example, we can take maybe the financial year, etc. if you want to present that kind of information. So you have some control over putting extra details in a house-wise manner on the invoice PDF. You can use custom entries to do so. However, footer notes are static. All right. Next question is about, can we put variables for title or item section? Can we put, okay, got it. So I would advise you to not put variables like, for example, the month of billing, etc. in the title. Better you control it in the billing period. So whenever you do auto invoicing, billing period can be automatically ensured to be generated properly. So let's say after the automatic invoicing for the month of May, the billing period will automatically be converted to for the month of June. So whenever the next invoicing happens, the billing period will already be there. So no need to put variables in the title or the item, etc. You can go forward with that. Next, if we cancel an invoice, can we reuse the same invoice number? Very good question here. Let's say I have already generated the invoice for the month of May, and I have noticed that there is a small mistake. Maybe in the invoice title itself, I have re-mentioned the month of April or something. I can go to the invoice history where my invoices have been generated. So I'll generate a new invoice, let's say, for a newer description here. Generate invoice. 26th of the month, next month 5th is the due date, let's say. I'm giving 10 days for people to pay. Bill preview, generate and publish now. Generate invoice. So whenever a new invoice is generated, it will appear as the item at the very top. And the latest invoice will also have an extra button here, which is called delete. So whenever you do an invoice cancellation, Remember, cancellation will not let you reuse the same invoice number which was used earlier. However, the latest invoice generation also gives you a delete feature so that you can take a step back. So if you had already done the April billing, now you're doing the May billing, which is from the invoice number 1001 to 2000, you can always choose to delete that latest generation if you feel that there is a big mistake in that generation, amount level mistake in that generation, or ledger level mistake in that generation. You can delete this safely. You can provide a reason. Let's say I'll just put it as none for now. Submit. What will happen is a reversal will happen for that particular invoice number that was consumed earlier, and you can reuse that particular invoice number. However, deletion as a feature is only available to the admin. It is not available to the accountants or managers. So you'll have to be careful there. Again, during the generation, I did a publish now operation, which means that invoices will be generated and will be distributed to all the residents automatically in that very instant. If you feel that your invoice generation, you need to do a small amount of review, you can always choose to do publish later operation, where invoices will be generated and withheld with you. It will not be sent to the resident. It will not be sent to any of the parties. And you can do a review of the invoices, look at the PDF, look at the dues report, look at the invoice generation. And once you're satisfied, once your admin is satisfied, you can do a publish operation so that nobody gets to know about the new billing that has happened before you are completely satisfied with that. All right, next, can the auto generation happen without publishing to owners automatically? The admin would like to review a sample of auto-generated bill before sending it out. Now, again, as I mentioned, review operation, publish later operation is present in manual generation of invoicing. Automatic generation, however, does not give this kind of a flow, if I remember correctly. If you really want to do a preview, then it is advised, as I mentioned earlier during the session, that let's say automatic generation is going to happen in the early morning of 5th of May. You will receive a generation summary reminder on 4th of May at around 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. That summary can also help you a lot with knowing that the generation configurations are proper or not. Point one. Second, again, if you really want to get a go ahead from your admin, you can go through the invoice generation flow. Probably we can show it to them quickly. Raise invoices, generate invoice, and bill preview. This bill preview is available at any given point of time, and this exact bill preview is going to be generated with the invoice number. You have a feature here to download the bill preview, and you can share it with your admin so that they can approve the bill. And bill preview can be generated for all the flats. So here only amount of one flat was mentioned. Hence the bill preview is generated for this one flat only in this particular template. If you have done the amount configuration for all the flats, then you can keep selecting the flats. Maybe it is the president's flat, or maybe secretary's flat, or treasurer's flat. You can download the preview, share it with them, get an approval, and then do the billing. Then there is no need to do a billing since it is an auto generation. You don't need to interfere with the billing. Can I make invoice sequence as default setting?
Yeah, I'll pick up this. Yeah, so yeah, we can set up invoice sequence as a default. We shown this in the previous section also. I'll just redo that once again. So if this is one of the invoice that you have created and you are using every month, you can come to the template, click on edit, and in the basic configuration itself, we have a sequence option to be selected. So if you set it up once, and all your future generations will follow with this particular sequence. Since probably this is a new financial year, it's the best right time to start a new sequence and continue using it. If the desired sequence is not visible here in this page, before coming here, you can go to accounts, invoicing. In the raise invoices page, we can see an option to create a new sequence. So if the option is not available in the drop down, we can create it here, and thereafter you can go back to the template, save this once, and in all your future generations, that same default, that same sequence will be continued.
Right. Sequences do not specifically need bill plan to be configured before you can use them. You can use them independently as well. I've seen societies which run no bill plan but use n number of sequences. I've also seen societies which use 7 to 8 bill plans but with common sequences. So it is, everything is dependent on how you want to operate your society, how do you want to operate your billing. Invoice sequence, again, as mentioned, it's the right time to go for your custom sequences. It's a new financial year. You can set up your new billings in that fashion. All right, next. Can we include CAM and DG in exemption limit and apply GST on these and other line items, which are penalty line items? Can you enable this feature? Right. As I mentioned earlier, let's say if you have a CAM and DG billing combined in one invoice, in that case, and you are using penalty generation on next invoice model. So we have a setting that can be activated when and when the invoice is generated and the penalty amount plus the principal amount goes beyond 7,500, then GST will apply, or else GST will not apply. So this is something that can be, you can directly contact your account manager or the support team. We can help you with the activation of that particular flow. Next is, can common AICT be distributed among each unit and the same can be GST exempted? True. If you're using an invoice level GST exemption model, the same common AICT will be, should be as a part of the same CAM billing. If you're doing an item level exemption process, in that case, you will have to distribute the exemptions here and there. But I would advise use a invoice level exemption. Have your CAM, have your CAE, everything as part of one bill. And you can ensure that 7,500 limit is honored properly. Okay, next is about footer image. I'll go to the raise invoices again. Footer image overflows the page boundary sometime. Can we add an option to control the image scaling? So the footer image is actually a tool that is added recently in a way to handle cases of QR addition or to handle cases of photograph addition as proof. Now, footer image, yeah, it is based on resolution. If you add a very high resolution file, it will take as much as 60% of the width of the screen. If you add a lower resolution file, however, it will take a lower amount of space. So 100 by 100 footer image, square footer image, will take a very small space in your invoice PDF. However, if you add a 500 by 500 footer image, probably it will be almost half of the width of the PDF file. So what I would advise is you can scale down the footer image to 100 by 100 or 150 by 150 kind of an image, and you can control the size of the image appearing on the PDF. Can I send payment link through Mygate app to respective owners and tenants if she is out of station?
I think in the previous question, we might even need to understand how we can reduce the resolution of our image. So as a user, I mean, if I have to reduce the resolution of the image, I'll have n number of options just online to trim down the image to the desired resolution that we want. So if we just search for some
basically these
resolution-
rescalers are available online. All type of image formats are supported: JPG, JPEG, or PNG, etc. Our system also supports these common formats. You can rescale, tune it down to a smaller resolution, and you can upload it again.
Yeah.
Today for the presentation, I was going to present invoice PDF, sample invoice PDF with a footer image, a QR image. So I also did a small amount of rescaling because the earlier QR I got was a 500 by 500 QR, which was a very big QR. I reduced it to 100 by 100 and it fit very well in my invoice PDF. Again, next question is about payment link. Can I send a payment link through Mygate app to respective owners? So here I would again advise you everyone to download the Mygate app. Again, this is to the admins as well. You can request all your society members. You can send group emails through the Mygate system, notices through the Mygate system to advise people to get more downloads happening in the system. More people using the Mygate app will actually help you with other associated processes also, like gate management or help desk or amenity booking, etc. However, we do not send any separate payment link if a user is out of station. If an invoice is generated An email is, however, sent with a payment link. If they are really not using the Mygate app, they can go to their email inbox, click on the email of the invoice, click to pay from there itself, and their payment will be made. However, the experience is much, much better if they have the Mygate app.
So here the first priority would be getting everybody to
Yeah.
use the Mygate app. In case if they are not using or not downloading for some reasons, make sure all the email IDs are added to the flats attached so that they receive a payment
True.
link along
True.
with every email
Hmm.
notification that they receive, which they can use to make the payment.
Right, right. Old age people, retired people, etc. They may not want to use the app in some situation. Their email ID can be added as an inactive user in the flat, and thereafter things will work well. We raise the maintenance invoice on the last day of the month. How can we use automated invoice? This is completely possible. In the invoicing system, you can do a periodic generation on the last day of the month as well. Okay, the screen is presented here. I can maybe do a new configuration here.
I'm attempting to enable the
Periodic generation.
Yeah.
Next billing date is
So
30th.
we'll go with May.
Hmm.
Last is next billing date is 31, and the due date I'm giving, let's say, 10 days from this. So 10th of June will be the due date.
Hmm.
No penalty case. And now the billing period start date, if you want to configure, let's say monthly.
Maybe June, because they're doing in advance, maybe.
Yeah.
First
So
June
let's keep it
onwards.
1st June. And date format, we'll keep it month format so that in the invoice it will show June month bill. And now if I update with 31st, every next month it is going to consider last day of the month as a invoice date.
Yes.
So next auto generation will
June.
happen on June 30th, likewise July 31st. It will continue as a end of the month. You will also receive an email a day before so that you can confirm that the date is coming appropriately next time, because when you are going to use it for the first time, you may want to verify that.
Right. Okay, we are using meter-based billing for gas LPG usage. We have requested for a tabular format for opening reading, closing reading, date of both reading, consumed unit, etc. Is it possible to have a tabular format? So right now, Mygate provides a single format for billing, which is a descriptive format, in which, of course, whenever you're doing a billing, so if I take an example of electricity billing itself, which is a meter-based billing, you can upload the starting reading, etc. So let me go to enter manually kind of a flow. So you can add your previous reading, you can add the current reading, consumption will be automatically calculated. If you have the slab rates ready, let's say 10 rupees per unit, then the calculation of amount will automatically happen. So these systems are already provided. In the current format that we provide on with Mygate, it is always possible to present the previous reading, current reading along with the item description. Now, with respect to tabular format, we have looked into that kind of a request, and we know that it has been coming from a couple of customers here and there. One round of solutioning is already done some time back. We are currently looking into when can we find an opportunity to further develop this particular thing. So overall, currently, Mygate has a descriptive format. Tabular format as a request has been received earlier. We have done a small bit of solutioning there. And we look forward to working on this kind of a tabular format maybe towards the end of the current financial year. All right. Then there is one more question here. How to raise multiple invoices, monthly, quarterly, annual at the same time? So as pointed out earlier in the session, automatic invoicing is definitely possible. You can have your own setup of billing configurations. You can have a setup of billing period, etc. However, if you're looking forward to raising all these invoices at the same time within the same template, that is, of course, not possible directly. You will have to set up 3 different templates before you move forward. All right. If there are any more questions, you can, yeah, Jagruti, you can.
Thank you for answering all the questions, Mahir, Nitish. If we weren't able to get to your question today, any specific question, don't worry. We will follow up via email within the next 2 days. all of your questions will be answered. You can still keep on posting your questions on the link mentioned. And that brings us to the end of today's session on 10x faster invoicing. Very, very thank you to our presenters, Nitesh and Mahir, for their valuable insights and practical guidance. And to each one of you who joined us, thank you for your participation. Your questions and engagement made this session truly enriching. Before we wrap up, I'll share a quick feedback form in the chat. It only takes a couple of minutes to fill out and includes space to suggest topics you'd like to cover in future webinars. Your feedback really helps us in shape better sessions. Apart from it, you will also receive a WhatsApp with the feedback form, a recording of the session, the YouTube link of that session. You will also receive a resource pack with templates and guides that were discussed today. If you need hands-on support with invoicing for your community, you can reach out to us at contact@mygate.com. Thank you once again for being here. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.